Welcome back to the Stay Introverted Podcast. I am your co-host, Jay Coleman.
And I am your other co-host, Steph Laffey.
And as always, we're so excited to have you listen to this brand new podcast and be a part of this podcasting journey that Steph and I are on. Today, we're actually going to take it back a little bit to growing up as an introvert, something that all introverts can relate to.
Yeah, well, unless you are like me and didn't know you were an introvert, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Well, I guess that's a good place to start. So, when did you actually realize that you were an introvert?
Last year. And I know before you're like, how the hell did you not know? I was not self-aware at all until I started to become self-aware as I got older, but like I never really did any personality tests. I never really looked into all that stuff. I just thought I was quiet. Like I didn't really put a label on it, you know?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like if somebody had said, "Oh, you're an introvert," I would have been like, "Oh, maybe." But like I maybe I knew, but like didn't know officially.
Okay. Yeah, I took a lot of or several personality tests growing up, and they all kind of pointed to introversion. But like you, I never really sort of put a label on it or really explored it until probably a couple of years ago.
Okay.
As I just really came to accept and understand that, yeah, this is or these are all of the qualities of being an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, once I finally came to truly understand and accept it, it kind of made all of growing up and all of those, I guess, adventures or misadventures kind of shed some light on them and help make a little sense out of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but I wish that I could go back and tell my younger self, like, you're an introvert. Like just own it. Just like that's cool. But as my younger self probably would have been like, I don't care. Like, do you wish that you knew?
I do. I think that it would have definitely helped as far as just understanding earlier who I was.
Right.
I think it would probably, I wouldn't say I had anxiety, but there's just kind of that feeling of, is something wrong with me? How come everyone's socializing and playing around and proactively making friends and I'm not? And it's like I'm not, and I'm okay with that. Like is something wrong with being okay, not really feeling a need to be friends with a bunch of people or go out and party every other week or be the center of attention. I thought that, and every now and then it still kind of flares up, but I really thought when I was younger that there was something wrong with me, and society doesn't help.
Oh my god, no! They make you feel like such a weirdo for like wanting to sit home and like just chill or like journal like me or watch TV or read a book. Like I always feel like such a weirdo, or I used to feel like such a weirdo when people would call me and I just wasn't in the mood, or people would reach out to make plans and I just really just wasn't that interested in going. And for some reason, finally learning that I'm just an introvert and like learning how to manage my energy and my attention and my interest level, like, and learning that like the way that I function is a lot different than many of my friends who are more on the extroverted side. I was able to learn to manage it and just sort of and learn how to function in a much more extroverted world. And now I'm able to go out and I'm able to do things. I'm able to pick up the phone. I'm able to have conversations and function at work. But not knowing I was an introvert, I didn't know really how to manage my attention, manage my energy level, manage my interest. I just had none because I didn't know how to manage it.
How did your family support you, or not support you, kind of growing up?
Mom, if you're listening, I'm sorry. Just kidding. I love you. um, they always tried to get me to like go out and make friends, and like they never really, they tried to not make me feel like I was a weirdo, but like I feel like they probably definitely thought like, what is wrong with this kid that she would rather read a book than go play with all the kids. They were probably like, why does she, I'm talking like as a young kid. I got a little bit more social in middle school and high school.
Mm-hmm.
But like as a young child, like if I had to choose between hanging out with my friends and reading another Nancy Drew book, or playing a computer game, or playing Harry Potter on PlayStation, I was choosing those things over hanging out with people. And it drove my parents crazy because my parents are very social people. And I always felt like I grew up in like a loving, supporting environment, but like I definitely felt, like misunderstood. Like they couldn't understand why I wanted to do those things or why I chose to do those things over socializing.
Yeah,
What about you?
I had a very similar story, a similar kind of background to yours. My growing up with my mother, always tried to get me to make friends with others, go out and read. But I just always preferred, or I was always more comfortable entertaining myself. I've always been able to just entertain myself, with a book, or just listening to music, watching music videos. Shout out to Video Soul on BET in the '90s. I miss you. Like that was, I used to love summer vacation because I was like, oh, I can stay up to 10 o'clock and watch all the videos.
Oh my god.
That was my entertainment. Like I didn't need other people to entertain me. I was cool by myself. But and I think my mom, she definitely understood that. But I think parents, they want what's best for you, or what they feel is best for you, and I don't know. I don't want to accuse my mom of doing it, but I feel that sometimes parents kind of compete with other parents and how like their children are developing, and so you see these kids being social butterflies and going to parties and whatnot, and you want your son, you want your kid to do the same thing, but it's like that's not really my jam. It's like I'll go and I'll say hi and I'll be polite, but after that first 3 minutes, I'm going to go find me a corner and chill. Like that's just how I am.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I think that, again, she definitely understood it. I'm sure she would have been a lot more. It would have made her a lot happier if I was more social.
Same.
But we didn't really bump heads. I'll say, like there wasn't really much like argument. She didn't like just, you're going to this party or I'm a punish you type thing. Yeah, it never came to that. And I think that probably around high school, I think she just realized, hey, this is kind of how it is. He just just wants to come, go to school, go to football practice, come home and chill. And I also think, growing up in Southeast Queens, she looked around and saw kind of what happened to or happens to some kids in the inner city, and she's like, you know what?
Right.
I actually don't mind my kids being home.
It could be so much worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't exactly. I don't mind knowing that my kid is safe at home and not into whatever outside. So I think it's a kind of extreme, but it is what it is.
Absolutely. That's one way to reconcile it.
That's one way to reconcile it. It really is. It's like, okay, I can be social and whatnot, and potentially get caught up in something, or I can just chill here with these Goosebumps books and and have a good time in my room. What do you want?
Exactly.
So, real quick story. When I was growing up, 5, 6, 7, like elementary school, I did reasonably well in school, but it never failed. Whenever we went to the parent teacher conferences, I would, I did well in school, and there's nothing to really worry about as far as grades. But my teacher will always tell my mom, he's a good kid, polite, answers questions when you ask him, but he does not participate. That was the one thing they would always say. He does not participate. He just comes in and does work. And I'm like, what's the problem? What is the issue? I'm here. I'm doing the work. I'm not disrupting. I get A's on my test. If you ask me a question, I'll answer it. What is the problem? Maybe, if I know. And even if I don't, I just be like, I don't know. Like, what is the problem? And without fail, teacher and my mom are like, well, you should raise your hand and, try to participate. And for like a good 2 weeks, I would do it and then just go back to how I was before.
Right.
And this cycle went on for like 5 years. And my teachers finally was like, you know what? I guess they finally learn to accept me just getting A's and being quiet in my class. Like, really? What is wrong with that? Like,
I wish more kids were like that, because maybe they'd be better as adults. Honestly,
seriously, you got little.
They would have learned how to listen.
Really, like little Timmy over here is banging his head on a desk every 5 minutes, but you worried about me? Like, come on.
Well, I'm sure little Timmy was getting different reports on home.
Yes, he probably was. God bless you, little Timmy, wherever you are. I hope you're doing all right.
We love you, little Timmy.
We love you, little Timmy.
You took the attention away from us.
No, you didn't. He didn't, though.
Oh, that's true.
Unfortunately,
you should have banged your head harder.
Yes, throwing some yells. That probably would have helped out. Okay.
Oh my God. So for me, and then I want to know like what you were like other than being introverted. So for me, and I think this is probably why my introversion was as noticeable to everybody else but myself. Okay. Not only was I super introverted and shy, like your stereotypical introvert, shy, like tongue-tied all the time, super like just uncomfortable, I was also couldn't see, like horrible eyesight. I have a 30% hearing loss in my left ear and 20% in my right ear, but I refuse to wear hearing aids. What else? Let's see. I had 2 left feet, so I could not walk. I literally just could not walk without tripping over myself. On top of that, I had braces, which I was not particularly thrilled about. And what else? I'm super uncoordinated, so I was just all over the place. I couldn't hear what people were saying. I was constantly just tripping over my own 2 feet, or air, or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that all of those things did not help. So, like when I'd be in conversation with people, I couldn't freaking hear what they were saying. So my favorite word, like if you ask anybody I went to elementary school with, they probably know me as the girl who said "what" every 30 seconds because I couldn't hear. So I'm pretty sure that didn't help my situation.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was like the whole gamut of like not even problems, but just like the quintessential like awkward dork.
So I guess I was definitely a nerd. I also couldn't see worth a damn growing up. So I definitely
We would
had.
have been good friends.
Like,
You can't see me, I can't hear you. It's all good.
yeah, so I definitely had glasses. And then I don't know if you've ever been in a classroom where, like, typically you have the blackboards, and then I guess some rooms have the green boards. This room had like a beige board, and I couldn't see shit on that thing.
Oh
I was
my
like,
god.
yeah, I was at the point where I didn't want to wear my glasses. I thought they were dorky, but I had to wear them because I was in this class all year and I could not see anything on this board if I was not
So
sitting.
you didn't wear them?
For the first like few months I just didn't wear them. I would just sit in like the front row,
Oh
and that
my
was cool.
god.
And even then I had to like squint, you know. But eventually I wore them. It was fine. I also had braces, and when I was, I got think when I was 12.
Did you have like the night brace too? I did. I was so bad at sleepovers. Oh my god. I looked like a telephone operator.
No, I just had like the middle ones. I had to wear the rubber bands at one point.
Oh, the
So
worst.
those were not fun. I did, oddly enough, I didn't really have any sort of issues or complex with the braces because I didn't talk. So people really, most, most people didn't even know
There
I
you
had them.
go.
Yeah, it was like
What came first, the not talking or the braces?
not talking. Like I just wasn't much of a talker. So it was like
Right.
there were so many people where I was like a year and a half in, and then I was like, wait a minute, he had braces? I was like, yeah, you didn't know? You didn't know?
Well, I never seen you open your mouth, so.
Yeah, and like even when I did talk, I talk. I've always talked low. I'm very soft spoken. Viewers probably don't get that now because
Right.
I'm trying to talk loud and project. But I've always been soft spoken. I talk
Right.
low. From New York, so I mumble and I talk fast.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
stutter
and I'm not
sometimes.
agree. I'm not saying that you mumble. I'm saying I can relate.
Yes, I try not to mumble. I try not to stutter, but I do to this day. I still stammer. So talk if there was an opportunity to be quiet, I took it all the time.
Right.
Um,
Right.
it also I was also big for my age, so that
Okay.
kind of helped because when you're like 6 inches taller than everybody growing up, they tend not to bother you, which is cool.
Right.
So I didn't get the hey, four eyes or the metal mouth things. So that was, I guess, a unexpected benefit, I guess. But
Right.
I was also kind of, because you're tall at a certain age, you're kind of pushed towards playing
Right.
basketball, and then I was big for my age, so you're pushed to playing football, and there's the
Right.
whole social dynamics of both, and I just never kind of, in my opinion, like fit in. Like again, I've never been a typical jock. I kind of just
Right.
I go to practice, play the game, go home. Like I never really was a type to hang out too much with my teammates. There were a couple
Right.
who understood, kind of how I was, and they accepted me for kind of who I was at that point. But I was just never your typical jock.
Right.
And on a, I would say on a more serious note, again, growing up Southeast Queens, there's a, and not just Southeast Queens, but in America in general, there's kind of a stereotypical image of, black men and black children. And a big part of that is that, they're loud and they're rambunctious and they're just wilding. And I was none of that, but I found that when you're like a black male child and you're large and you're quiet, there's like a whole other world of stereotypes that just opens up as if that's better. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've had people tell me that I'm mean because I'm quiet. I've had people.
And that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that. Yeah, I mean, are you even an introvert if you've never been accused of being mean because you're quiet? Like, I think that's like a rite of passage for introverts.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've never been accused of being mean, but I've been accused of not giving a shit, which, I mean, to be honest, I probably didn't, but that's besides the point.
I have as well. I will say that one has actually followed me into adulthood and into the corporate world. Like, I've actually had a boss who I'm actually great friends with today, and who's actually one of my mentors. Like, he actually said, "Hey, does he actually care?" And I had to have like my other manager tell him, like, Jay gives a shit. He's just very reserved. Like, he cares because he's here every day doing putting in the work, so he cares. But he is very much an extrovert, very outspoken, very very loud. So it's like if you don't match that energy, or if you appear to be like the opposite, it just appears like you don't care. It appears like you don't care, which was, nowhere near the truth. I would say that probably the weirdest thing was being accused of being racist because I'm an introvert.
Oh, I love this story. Oh my gosh.
So we've talked about this offline. This isn't really a childhood thing, but still kind of growing up. I was working in a hospital, and I guess one of my coworkers was always trying to engage in conversation, and I was definitely at the the very, very introverted point in my working life, where I just wanted to, go to work, put in a good day's work, and then go home. I wasn't really there to make friends. I was just there to do my job, go home. But this woman, again, was always trying to engage me in the conversation. And I was polite. I would say, "Hey, how you doing?" "I'm fine." I guess she would call herself making jokes, and I didn't really find them funny, so I'm just like, okay. I just smile and nod.
That's the worst for somebody who's like, I think I'm funny, so like when people don't laugh, it's like the worst insult ever.
Yeah, it's like, bless your heart, you tried. You tried, and I love that for you. But one of my actual work friends came into my office one day, and she was like, "Jay, do you have a problem with this person?" And I was like, "No. Am I supposed to?" And she was like, "What?" I was like, "Not because, my friend, she been working there for 10 years, so she knows the lay of the land. If she got a problem with somebody, we got a problem with somebody. So I just wanted to know." I was like, "Wait, are we beefing?" "No?" "Okay."
Oh my god.
It's like, listen, you ride, I ride. That's how I am, okay? But she was like, "No, you're not supposed to." But she thinks that you don't like white people because you don't talk to her.
Because you don't laugh at her jokes.
Exactly. And I was like,
wow.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Clearly I misheard you. Can you say it
Oh
again?
my God.
And she's like, yeah. She thinks that you don't like white people because you don't talk to her. She tries to joke, and you just kind of look at her. I'm like, I don't, like,
That's a whole nother level of insecurity, but
yeah.
okay.
I was like, well, first off, I don't really talk to anybody here. I'm just here to do my job. I don't like. Second of all, I honestly don't even notice her half the time. So I was like,
That's so funny.
I did not know she was trying this hard. I honestly did not. But um, I'm this doesn't motivate me to talk to her more. I can assure you
Right.
that. I can promise you that.
Right.
So I'm going to get back to work. Thank you.
On that note.
On that note, thank you.
Well,
But yeah, it's interesting because people like they look at you and they expect like a certain type of behavior, and when they don't see that, they got to figure out, okay, well, it must be some other thing, like what is wrong with this person, and then try to figure you out. And
they try
I'm
to psychoanalyze you.
yeah, and I'm like, I'm just me. Like, if you have a question, ask. Like, let's
Right.
like how about that? How about we ask questions instead of
Right.
assuming, and then maybe from there we can have an actual conversation. But
Right.
it boggles the mind sometimes.
Right. And you know what? It's a good call out because I mean there are times when like I find myself attaching stories to other people who are maybe a little bit more uncomfortable, a little bit awkward, or maybe just don't really have much to say, and I'll start going in my own head like this person doesn't like me, they think I'm a weirdo, they think I'm a freak, and like so I have to catch myself and I'm like, why am I attaching my insecurities to this person? Like, what is it about them that's making me uncomfortable? Um, and I wish that I had that ability to be self-aware that like we tend to project onto other people how we feel about ourselves. Um, so I feel for that girl a little bit. I don't feel for her in that she jumped to such a wild assumption, but I think a lot of the times, like we just project our insecurities onto why we can't connect with somebody else. But I mean, all you have to do is ask the question.
Seriously. And in case anybody is wondering, no, I did not work there a long time. I was gone like a few months after
I'm
that.
sure she was happy.
I I don't know. I never even considered how she felt about
That's so
living.
funny.
I just like yeah, this is not the place for me. Um,
Yeah.
this it was not. So, but yeah, growing up introverted, it's an adventure.
Oh yeah. So I'm curious because, like, for me, I feel like my parents or anybody listening is probably listening and thinking, "Steph, you seemed like a happy kid." I'm like, "Yeah, I was. Like, I actually was very happy, but I was especially happy when I got to like be with my books and playing my computer games. And just I liked being in my own little world." And I think a big part of why I liked being in my own little world was, again, because I couldn't hear what people were saying. And so for me, like being able to like look at a book on my own or play on the computer, like I had control over what I was hearing and what I was seeing. And I didn't have to constantly just like stumble over my words or feel awkward. So I was a happy kid and I did have friends, but I kind of liked to be by myself. It felt safer.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Some people believe that there's this sort of predetermined idea of what happiness is. Like you have to be with someone or doing a certain activities in order to be happy. Like it's impossible to just be by yourself and read a book.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's impossible to just be happy writing down your feelings or your thoughts in your journal. Like for some,
Mm-hmm.
it literally just doesn't compute for some people,
Right.
and that would really bother me growing up because I had my interests. I like to read. I
Mm-hmm.
collected comic books, and then Marvel and DC trading cards, and then graduated to basketball cards. I've always loved buses when kids my age love cars and trains and planes. I had my own unique interests, and I was fine with that. Those are the things that made me happy, and it
Right.
always bothered me when people were like, even my parents would like tell me that those things aren't fun or those things can't make me happy, because I was always like, who are you to tell me what makes me happy? Like I would never do that to you.
Right.
And that's the thing. And I wonder how many introverts felt that way growing up. It's like, you know,
Right.
how dare you try to tell me what I find or what I should find happiness in or enjoyment in. Like,
Right.
I would I
Like
would I would never disrespect you like that. So why are you doing that to me?
absolutely. Like I remember being so uncomfortable having to play sports. I tried every sport, but like I said earlier, like I am so uncoordinated. I I was afraid of the ball. And I also have a very short attention span. I think that came later in life. um, but I couldn't pay attention to the game, to the ball. I had no idea what was going on, probably because I couldn't see or hear. And so, of course, I wasn't interested in sports. Like I was just let me draw and paint and read books, and I am perfectly happy. Like being in my own little Steph world. Like trust me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, I always say, you show me somebody sitting in his room or her room, reading a book, listening to music, and I'll show you somebody who's not causing any goddamn trouble.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
Why are you getting mad at me? I'm not causing. I mean, I like. I will say, once I reached the age of like 13 or 14, I was, I kind of went in the opposite direction for a little while. There was a couple years where they were like, "Where did quiet Stephanie reading the book go?" And I'm like, "Oh, now you want to see her? Now you want me to read my books again?" They're like, you know what? Be careful what you wish for. You wanted me to go out and hang out and hang out with my friends, and now I'm doing it. And now you wish that I was reading. Which is it?
Exactly. You know, people would ask you to talk and say something until you share an opinion or say something that they don't like, and I was like, well, hey, this is what you asked for. It's not always going to be on your terms. You can't have it.
Exactly.
You can't have it both ways.
Exactly. Right. Like when I mean, as I got older and as I started to kind of find my voice, like I started actually using my voice and speaking up and saying what I actually thought. And so many people were so taken aback at first. They're like, wait, she talks? Wait, she's got some strong opinions. You settle down. And I'm like, well, you wanted me to talk all this time. Here I am.
I I remember when I got my first job out of grad school. I was working for this nonprofit, and again, I just come to work, do my job, and go home. But I actually ended up making one or two, work friends. I guess we'll call them. And I never really hung out with them after work too tough, but uh, they were we were cool, and there was this guy. He was a new hire, and I guess he had been there for probably 2 months, and he's walking by my cubicle, and the way that the office was set up, like my cubicle was at a corner, so you come up to the corner and then make it right and go out into the hall. So he comes, makes it right, and as he's going towards the door, he stops and he was like, "Yo, Jay, like, do you ever talk?" And I look at him like, first of all,
what's your name?
Yeah, I'm like, who the F are you? Second, who the hell are you to ask me this question? But I'm like, that's going on in my head. But I'm like, yeah, right. I talk. He was like, I've never seen you talk. I don't hear you. And I just look at him like, okay. Exactly. Like, oh.
Did that offend you? Do you sit at home thinking about how I don't talk?
Yeah, and like, he walked away, and I'm thinking like, wait a minute, like this. First of all, you are on the other side of the office, so how the hell would you even know if I'm talking or not?
He's watching you.
Okay. Second of all,
at least he didn't accuse you of being racist, though.
This is true.
This is slight upgrade.
Slight upgrade. I mean, well, no, because this is before the hospital, so
Oh, okay.
Well, yes.
So you downgraded from there.
Exactly. It was a downgrade from that point. But he's across the office. So how would you even know? Secondly, like, you made it a point to like come over here and ask me this. So this was obviously on your mind. Why? Like, why is this on your mind? Why does this bother you so much? Like,
people are so weird. Oh my god.
It is, and it blew my mind because there is this in the same office. There was this worker. His name is Jerry. Nice guy, but he would make sounds.
Like
Yes, exactly. Very nice, very nice guy. Help you with anything. He was very good with like Excel, but it's like everybody would be working. It would be quiet, and then all of a sudden you would just hear, and it's like, wait a minute, what? And then like something would happen on his screen, and he would just like start clapping and be like,
oh my god, was it like a condition, like Tourette's or something?
I don't know. I think like that was the obvious guess.
Well, I guess you didn't ask because you're not rude.
I wasn't asking him. Again, very nice guy. A couple of times, like, I guess something happened and he was like, he just let a couple of F-bombs and everybody stopped what they were doing. Everybody in the office.
Am I allowed to laugh? Is that offensive?
Looking back, it was funny as hell, but in that particular moment,
it probably scared the shit out of you.
Like, do you remember the mannequin challenge? When
mannequin challenge,
like, basically people just like film themselves being really, really still for like 10 seconds. Like,
wait, being really ill?
Being still.
Oh.
Like they would just be still like an actual mannequin and like
still. Oh, the mannequin challenge. I think you said the medicine challenge.
Sorry. Yeah, the mannequin challenge.
I remember that, yeah.
Like that's what it was. Like everybody just stopped moving and stared at this guy for 10 seconds until he went back to doing what he was doing, and he never looked up. He never saw that everybody was staring at him.
I love that for him. That's amazing.
And that was Jerry. And
go Jerry. I wish I had that.
Like, and my thing was, you see this guy doing all of this, and your question is why I don't talk. Really?
He's already making enough more noise for both of us.
Exactly. Like people say it's the quiet ones you have to watch, and I've never believed that. I've never believed that in my life. If you're in a bar and there's a guy at the end of the bar drinking a beer, minding his business, and somebody walks in and yells at the top of his lungs, "I'm going to beat up the next MF that walks in here." Who are you going to watch?
That is a good point. I never thought of it that way.
Okay. Who are you going to watch? That's the thing. But that's like the stereotypes and I guess prejudices about people who are quiet, people who are introverts. So
right,
it's hard here for us sometimes.
Absolutely, and it's like as you're talking, I'm thinking like what I'm thinking about, like some other stereotypes that like are associated with introverts. Like I feel like I probably fit into all of them, and like a lot of the times the quiet ones aren't. It's not because we have nothing to say, right? I grew up having a lot to say. I just chose not to say it. But like if you asked me anytime, you probably would have regretted asking me immediately because I struggled to like once I started talking, I struggled to stop. It's still a problem today. But I think that a lot of the time people always assume like the quiet ones just aren't looking, we're not watching, we're not observing, we're not thinking about things. Like we are, we just choose not to say it, you know? Exactly. And I think introverts are probably a lot more observant than our extroverted friends. Because we spend so much time just kind of looking and watching and observing things.
I totally agree. It's hard to observe when you're talking, so I mean, there's that. But yeah, I think we're just naturally observers, and we process things differently, and we don't always feel the need to talk about it or share it. It's right. Not everything is worth talking about. That may sound crass or callous, but that's just how I feel. I don't want to speak for anybody else. That's just how I feel.
Right. I mean, like I went through a little bit of a phase, and a lot of people who connect me in the online with me in the online space are probably listening, and they're like, "Steph, you like when we first connected, you didn't shut up about literally everything." I'm like, right. I opened Pandora's box and I couldn't stop talking about every single thing because for my entire life before that, I never talked. So I had no filter for like the first time in my life. But it's again because everybody else spent so much time like learning how to have a filter, learning how to observe and share their observations. I literally just for the first 26 years of my life observed, and then I don't know what I did with those observations, but I didn't talk about them. So the last couple of years has been learning how to like kind of find that balance between like knowing, okay, what should I share? What should I keep to myself? So that has been quite a journey.
You bring up a good point. So I guess a question that I have is, did you find yourself, oversharing a lot when, you started talking more?
Oh my God. I was the queen of TMI. You were like, I didn't need to know that. I'm like, well, it came out. Sorry, it slipped. But yes, I overshared far too much with far too many people, and I definitely had periods where people were like, "Shut the fuck up." Stop, somebody make this woman stop. Like But like I said, it was like it was literally like somebody clicked the button and I just opened and I had no idea how to shut my mouth for a good probably until earlier this year is when I started to learn to have a filter again.
Yeah, I've sometimes have found, or
you sometimes found that I share too much.
No, not you, not you, Steph. Talk about me. Like like I found that I've overshared sometimes. 'Cause I'll be talking to somebody and I'm thinking back after the discussion. Wow, did I really have to say all of that? So it's again one of those things where you overshare and then you overthink about oversharing. So
oh my god, yes.
So that's a fun cycle to be in.
And then you're like overthinking while you're continuing to overshare, and it's just like the worst.
Exactly.
Or is that just me?
I've been there too, and then it's like you overcompensate by not saying anything the next time around, and then people think something's wrong with you.
Yeah, literally, like that is literally the existential crisis of an introvert. I feel like that is my constant worry. I'm like, I go back and forth between not talking and not shutting up, and everyone's like, which one are we gonna get today? It's like a seesaw. Like,
yeah, but it's hard it really is hard to find that balance. I don't know if it's a uniquely introverted thing, but at least for me and for a lot of introverts, all fellow introverts that I know, it's a real thing. And you don't, it's hard because you don't want to come across as aloof or off-putting or rude.
I come off as off-putting all the time. Whatever.
It's like
too bad.
But like you don't want to just tell someone everything. Like, so it's like where do you find? How do you walk that line? And it's something that I struggle with to this day. Like there's still a lot of times where I'm like,
same.
Yeah, did I have to tell them all that shit? Jesus.
Absolutely. I will say this podcast is definitely helping, like, already. Although our listeners might be like, "Are you sure? Really? Is it?" Oh, if you're first listening, you didn't hear me a couple months ago, then. No, but it's like I think learning how to just get more comfortable in conversation and get more comfortable around people in general, and really letting go of like of worrying about whether I said too much. I think for me, when I start to overthink, something that's really helped me is I'll literally ask, I'll if I'm comfortable enough with the person that I think that I said too much to, I'll just confront it and I'll say like, "Hey, I feel like I was over talking the other day. Like, can you just be real with me?" And usually they're like, "No, you're overthinking. Calm down, relax. You're fine." Yeah, and that's helped me start to like calm myself down, and I've learned how to like sort of catch myself when I feel like I'm over talking. Not that well, but I'm learning. I've learned that like when I'm overtired or like over hyper, I tend to get a little bit like too excited and share too much. But then again, like everybody shares too much. Everybody says dumb shit, whether you're introverted, extroverted, or somewhere in between. The number of dumb things that most of my friends who have heard me say dumb things, like it all balances out. I might say more dumb things nowadays, but in the past, trust me, they've said a lot of dumb shit that I'm happy to bring up.
So I have a question for you. So
Yeah.
growing up, or even now, but particularly when you're growing up, did people think that you weren't smart or competent because you were quiet? Like, did you ever get
You
that?
know what? Yes. Like, I think a lot of people, because I can, like, when I did turn on and when I did, like, actually speak, um, I caught, like, because I have such a bubbly personality, which is, like, such an odd thing for an introvert to have. Like, I was very bubbly and silly and goofy. I've always been a complete dork and a total goofball. When I did open my mouth to speak, I was like just silly stuff. So on top of being quiet and shy, I was also dorky, and people were like, "Wait, this girl gets all A's? Like how? What?"
Exactly.
I was like an oxymoron.
Yeah, the same. I would. There was one time I would like answer a question or got decent grade on an exam, and someone would be like, "Wow, I didn't know you were smart," and I'm like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "Well, you never talk." I'm like, "I don't talk, but I just got a 110 on this test." Like,
Right.
what?
I'm busy thinking. I'm busy talking to myself. Why do you think I'm so smart?
Exactly. Like my average test grade is like 103. Like
That's awesome.
like yeah, my teacher was awesome about like offering extra points. So I took
Right.
all those extra points.
I
You
love
know.
that.
But it would boggle the mind. And then it's funny because I remember my sophomore year in high school, there was actually I remember that year I actually started like on my own raising my hand to answer questions because I was like, you know what? I know this shit. Like, y'all don't. I do. Y'all not gonna say anything to me because one, I have the right answer. Two, I'm on a football team, so you can step to me if you want to. It's gonna be a problem. But I remember, particularly in my biology class, I raised my hand so much, like the teacher actually said, "Somebody other than Jay, please."
I love that for you. Wow. See, when you get an introvert's interest and attention, like there's no, I don't know about you, but I become like not obsessive, but like fixated. I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity to show that like I'm not just the quiet one. I know something.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that.
it just kills me, how you have all these introverted stereotypes and
Oh my god, yeah. And I'm curious if like if people listening, like people who knew you growing up are going to hear this episode cuz I know this is going to be the case for me. I wonder if they're going to hear this episode and say that's how you saw the world, like that's how you experienced life and that's what you thought about us. Like yeah.
yeah,
I never knew that's how you felt. Did you hate people? Like, no, I didn't hate people. I just wasn't comfortable in my own skin. So I just assumed that everybody thought I was a weirdo, and that was just the reality for me.
yeah. I
I,
mean,
I
I
didn't
definitely,
hate people. I was just afraid that people thought I was a freak.
yeah. I didn't hate people. Uh, I actually liked a couple of y'all for a few minutes at the time, but I just felt more comfortable when less of you were around.
Right.
Uh,
Right. It's
and that's
overwhelming. It's overstimulating. It's too much.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think you hit it on the head right there. Like, overstimulation that's a thing. Like, we
Yeah.
just get overstimulated because there's just so much going on, and we process everything. So trying
Yeah.
to figure all of this shit out at the same time while also being expected to engage in a full-on conversation about this asinine subject while also not appearing rude or disinterested is a lot.
Right. While also not being able to hear.
That too.
In my case.
Not being able to hear. It's a lot. And, we end up just kind of freezing up, or if we're a little more put together, just kind of slowly backing out the door.
Right.
But yeah, overstimulation, it's a real thing. And I don't think, I don't think non-introverts necessarily appreciate how that feels in the moment, particularly when you're younger, because you feel all of this in either you just aren't old enough or mature enough to really articulate it,
right?
Or maybe you are, but
you don't know that's not really, not that it's not normal, but it's like there are ways to address that.
Yeah, but also maybe you do know the ways. It's just that you can, if you do it, you're now seen as being disrespectful or talking back to adults.
Right.
When really you're just trying to express yourself. Like, unfortunately, again, I don't have kids, so I don't know if this is the same way it was when I was growing up. But there are some households where it was like, children are to be seen, not heard. Children are always wrong. Children don't have opinions. So you just have to. There's really no outlet for you to express this without fear of some sort of repercussion. So it's like, what do you do when you're a 10, 12-year-old introvert and you either can't or don't know how to express that? Like, it's just,
that makes me so sad. It makes me want to like go hug my younger self and be like, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna find yourself. Hang in there.
I mean, there's that there was a campaign, it gets better, that was, I think, targeted to like the LGBTQ.
Right.
I hope I said that correctly. But
I don't know.
I hope I did. I really do. But there were had a lot of actors saying it gets better. So I wish that there was something.
That's so nice.
Yeah, like I wish that there was like something for introverts like that. Like you had like a bunch of like introverted celebrities, or just celebrities in general saying, "Hey, quiet kid, it gets better." I really wish that kind of happened, but hey, maybe this podcast can be that, so
maybe I was just thinking that. You read my mind.
So like to the introverts out there growing up, or adult introverts, listen, it does get better. It really does.
And if you're a parent listening to this, please feel free to reach out to either of us. Not that either of us are parents. Like I will be soon, eventually, but
nice.
I don't know about you, Jay, but please reach out and maybe we can share some thoughts about not what we would tell our parents. Yeah, I guess what I would wish I could have articulated to my mom and dad. Maybe we can help.
Yeah, I'm not a parent. At this point, I don't plan to be. But I do, and I'm very honest about that. Like, I'm not a parent. I'm not going to tell you how to parent your child.
Right.
I can tell you or share my experience as an introvert, a child that was introverted. So I can definitely do that. And I've actually had a few parents reach out to me to tell them just that.
I love that.
Yeah, like I just, which shout out to them. Like that's awesome. The fact that they
recognized it, yeah.
But also like, hey, let me figure out how to meet my child where he or she is, as opposed to assuming something's wrong with him and forcing my belief or whatever whatever onto him or her. So I definitely appreciated those parents reaching out, and I just shared, listen, this is what I went through. This is how I felt. This is kind of how I dealt with it. This is how other people recognize whatever and kind of dealt and helped me. maybe you might want to try that.
Right.
Yeah, but I also was like, at the same time, here are the potential pitfalls of like overindulging somebody who's introverted. Like, you don't want to stunt their growth, because at some point, your ultimate goal is to raise somebody who can function in society.
Right.
So, don't just say he's an introvert and that's it. But here's kind of what I went through. Here are my thoughts.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, like, just because you got a quiet kid doesn't mean that they're gonna, like, how many celebrities, how many inventors, how many great podcasters grew up introverted. It's not like, it's not like a death sentence. Like, there are worse things you could be.
Seriously.
And I think, I always say every experience, everything that I've gone through and observed and lived through has prepared me for where I'm at now. So I just needed a little bit of extra time to like observe the world and learn how to communicate and learn how to express myself. But because I had that time, I evolved into a pretty fucking awesome person.
Facts.
And I appreciate, I did appreciate it once like people started to just, I started to accept myself for who I was, and I started to see myself for who I was, and I'm very grateful that there's so many wonderful people in my life that once I was finally able to like enjoy myself and appreciate myself, they were like waiting with open arms, like, finally you see the awesome girl that you've always been. Like, this is cool. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
That's all right.
I just wanted to pat myself on the back, I guess.
I will pat you on the back as well. Because I totally get it, because I think a few of my friends will be like, yeah, see, you always had something to say,
right? Because I'm always thinking, I'm always talking to myself.
Yeah, I mean, and that's we talk when we do have something to say. We talk when there's something that we find interesting. We just don't always find what's necessarily popular, or what's what you're supposed to find interesting doesn't always apply to us, and that's okay.
Right. And then the other thing is, like, we might not always know how to say it or who to say it to, and sometimes because we tend to get in our own heads, it just feels easier to just not say it at all, which was literally the epitome of my childhood.
Yeah. So I say all that to say, work with us, folks.
Work with us.
Work with us.
We're pretty cool. It's worth it.
It really is. Some of the best people in the world are introverts.
Yeah, for real. Taylor Swift is an introvert.
I did not know that.
I'm saying that to trigger you.
Yeah, me and Taylor. It's not even me and Taylor.
She's talented.
It's not even me and Taylor. It's like a friend of mine in Taylor. So like I'm angry by proxy.
Gotcha. She's a little problematic, but it's okay. She's talented and she's an introvert. So
all right, I'll give her some grace. But yeah, we might need to do that Taylor Swift episode.
Oh yeah. So I could get behind that.
I'm sure people are like, wait a minute, what's the problem with Taylor Swift? Well, don't worry, we'll get into it at some point. Not now.
Eventually, we don't want to be canceled by the Swifties.
Exactly, it's not that episode just yet.
But yeah, we're a little scared to share.
But yeah, growing up, I look back and. I do believe that my childhood was definitely happy. It was good. I don't think that I would change anything. I wish I could.
No, I just wish I could have had more space to like be my quiet little dorky self.
Yeah, I just like you. I wish I could kind of go back and tell Baby J, hey, it's gonna be all right.
Baby J.
Yes, that is what I call my younger self, Baby J.
I love it.
So I wish I could just tell Baby J it's gonna be all right. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't feel like you have to necessarily conform or be someone you're not, because it never works out.
Yeah, that.
But as I also always say, growing up introverted is not for the weak. So
no, definitely not. I wish. Yeah, I guess on that note, what would I say to little Steph? I would have. I guess I would have just said, just hang in there, keep doing your thing. Like, you are going to grow into a really confident, happy adult. So just keep doing your thing and keep being your own person, like whatever that looks like, and don't ever let anybody tell you that you're weird for being who you are.
And on that note, fellow introverts, we want to thank you for listening to our podcast once again. We definitely appreciate it. Let us know in the comments how it was for you growing up introverted. How did you feel? We definitely want to know. But
we can't be the only ones.
I would hope we're not. I definitely hope we're not.
Wow. that would be a turn of events. Like,
Yeah, like we put this episode out thinking we're doing something, and everybody's like, speak for yourself. I don't know what y'all talking about.
We're like living in like some parallel universe where only we have that experience.
Exactly.
And I'm not gonna lie, this episode I got a little bit uncomfortable, like not in a bad way, but it was very like I came into this thinking this is either gonna be very like cathartic and therapeutic, or it's gonna be horrible. And it was cathartic and therapeutic, and I'm glad that we did it. Like, there were points where I was like, I'm really scared to say this, but it was nice to like kind of make peace with a lot of stuff. So
yeah, I mean I agree. Like it can definitely be hard, like looking back and going over those things that happened and talking about them.
Right.
But you're right.
I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't even know if it's that. It's just hard because you haven't thought about it for in forever, and
I buried a lot of that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, by bringing it up, you're kind of dealing with it there, but it's very cathartic and I think very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just hope I don't get off and start crying.
That's.
Just kidding. I actually feel really good, and I'm really glad that we put this out there. It was a little bit more of a, I wouldn't say serious. Was it serious? It was a little bit more of a serious topic.
Yeah, a little bit more serious. But with that, hopefully this does reach the person that it needs to reach. To just let them know, hey, there is nothing wrong with you. Just keep doing what you're doing. Like I say that.
That's why we call it Stay Introverted.
Exactly. That's all you can do. That really is all you can do.
Keep being you, baby.
I have a lot of sayings, as you'll learn, but one of my favorite sayings is always be yourself unless you're an asshole, and then be less of yourself.
I like that. You have like a lot of Jayisms.
I do, and they actually are called Jayisms. That is very, they are.
I love that for you. Oh my God.
Yes, I have several. Like two wrongs don't make it right, but 3 rights make a left. Think about it. Think about it.
That's the nice part about like having like talking to yourself all day. You come up with good shit.
Exactly.
It's a good thing you have a t-shirt line.
It really is, because I'm a goddamn genius. So, you know.
Can that be one of our shirts? Like, if we make Stay Introverted merch, we should definitely make I'm a goddamn genius t-shirt.
Genius. I like it.
Let's do it.
You're going to have to do it.
And if you're listening before we make that shirt, don't steal it. We're getting a trademark.
Yes, don't steal our shit. We will find you.
All right. Well, on that note, I guess we should wrap it up because I gotta go eat dinner. And
yes. On that threatening note, we should definitely wrap it. We should definitely.
This is how you know I need. That's how you know I need to eat.
Yes.
This is what happens when you get a hungry introvert who's been talking for an hour.
Yes. So, well, yeah,
I'm about to eat the microphone.
Well, yes. We definitely, like I said before, we definitely appreciate you hanging with us for an hour and change. I have been your co-host, Jay.
And I'm Steph.
And we thank you for listening to us. And as always, stay introverted.
Wait. I forgot the ending.
Of course you did, because this is the ending. This is where you say, do the thing.
Do the thing. Like us, rate us, review us, share us on your story on Instagram, TikTok, X, or Twitter, whatever they're calling it now, Threads. Wherever, and listen wherever you get your podcast. That was honestly probably the worst one ever. Goodbye. That actually wasn't that bad.
It wasn't bad. All right, folks. Catch you later.
You know what to do. Bye.
Bye.